Support for WBFO and What's Next comes from our members and from Health Foundation for Western and Central New York, where racial and socioeconomic health equity are prioritized. Learn more about building healthier neighborhoods at hfwcny.org.
I'm Jay Moran.
I'm Bridget Jaipal Valenza.
I'm Thomas O'Neill White.
This is What's Next, a dedicated hour to have important conversations about the issues facing the marginalized and underrepresented communities of Western New York and Southern Ontario.
If we're going to have some real healing, we've got to have space to tell some uncomfortable truth.
What's Next continues our mission to discuss race,
equity,
and the common concerns of Buffalo's East Side and beyond.
In the suburban area, everywhere, we must work and teach our children.
Welcome to What's Next. Today we're going to get a bit of a preview of sorts and also talk about one of the key forces behind the Fig Fashion Festival coming up on September 28th at Seneca One, and that is Dame Powell. Dame, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Dana, also thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Talking with us as well. There's a lot to talk about here because your work it's not just generating a buzz here in Western New York, but it's national. It's even global in a lot of ways. We even have some of your work here for sure. But let's just flash back because we do want to talk and highlight the Fig Fashion Festival, of which I should mention Buffalo Toronto Public Media is the media sponsor for. How was last year's event?
Last year's event was eye-opening, nonetheless, to say the least, really. We didn't realize the type of reception that we would have for that event. Like I came into it very, hopeful, hoping that we would be able to make some version of impact in that space. So, I am ever grateful for Miss Julia Newell and Jim and Sarah for really setting the stage for us to be able to do what we did last year. So, and I'm more than looking forward to seeing what happens this year.
Yeah, just in talking in preview, I can see you're an individual of detail. So you're going to have lots of details and you're going to be focused on what you're doing there. At the same time, how about the overall reception to Fig last year? And did you learn something maybe about Buffalo and the creativity that is here, maybe that you didn't know before?
I've always known that the creativity was here. I just didn't see the opportunities for that creativity to be expressed on a larger level, right? So again, the being grateful towards Fig for them to continue to show us that there's a way outside of the leaving the city. I feel like we have been able to really start to just showcase what it is that we're capable of. And like I said, I'm overjoyed with this opportunity. It's like I can't express it enough.
Right. And you mentioned also in preview that, after the show, well, actually even during the show, or as it was going on or finishing up, people were interested immediately in what they saw, to the point where they were ready to make purchases.
100%, yeah. And we were, at least far as Dame is concerned, we were able to capitalize on a lot of those opportunities and be able to go through that room and shake those hands and make lasting impressions on people, so much so to where we were able to, some of those folks we have relationships with today, and it was a year ago.
Right.
And we continue to build the support via Fig or, word of mouth. We've been doing drop-offs for people who have attended Fig last year, and then opportunities come where they want to get gifts and stuff like that for relatives or loved ones and stuff like that. And we've been still providing for those people. And I was like, it was so nice to see you at Fig, and we can't wait to come back. And you know what I mean? Those opportunities, those moments, you can't just let those go by and not hold on to them.
How did it all start? How did Dame start? How can you take us back?
Well, 7 years ago. No. Dame was created out of. It's a bit of a story. So Dame was actually created out of a version of necessity, right? So there is I started, like I was telling you before, I was doing like studio work where I was like a studio engineer, producer. And then from there, I ended up having a friend of mine named Miles B, right? Really, really good friend. He is actually a writer for Chris Brown currently. He's a Buffalo native as well. And he was like, hey, this is like early on. I think Miles might have been like 19 when we had met. And he was like, I need an engineer. I want to figure this out. So I was like, all right, cool. So we started working. We worked a lot together. And then from there, he was like, all right, music videos need to be made. I started learning how to shoot music videos, right? And then because he showed me this one music video who wasn't that great. And I was like, I can't let you do this again. And then from there, it was like, I'm like, hey, let's put this together. You know what I mean? Like, what had it like, so I was like, we'll start getting you outfits and stuff like that. And we just were broke kids at the time, and I was like, well, I'll just learn how to do it. You know what I mean? So I went from learning how to just producing to learning how to make music videos to making clothes for my friend. And from there, it kind of just kept evolving. And then, I have another friend, his name is Polo Kerber, and then I have another friend named Yusuf, and there's Adam Kellerman, right? And they created this boutique called The Cellar. And I was like, I want to just make, apparel for The Cellar. And I just taught myself how to do graphic design, and it kind of just grew into that. And, through them, we got to meet another local hero of ours, Hey Man. He was doing like a lot of custom sneaker work and for like athletes and stuff like that. And just ran with those guys for a little while and figured out what the temperature of the city looked like, or felt like rather, and really just honed in on the skills of just, making clothes, right? From there, I ended up doing... And
you've never had any sewing experience before
not
that?
At all. It was literally...
Because there's nothing that looks more complicated to me than sewing.
I promise you this. I wake up in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. and I'm like, I got to figure this out.
Okay.
Right? Because I was trying to get samples made and stuff like that. And it was like, samples are like $400. So I'm like, I don't have $400 worth to give you. So I was just like, I'm going to go to Walmart. I'm going to buy a sewing machine. And just started going.
Wow.
Yeah, and from there, it just kept rolling over. Like I said, just being able to meet more people on the way, being able to be a shooter as far as creative directing and stuff like that, and meeting the folks that I met along the ways, whether it be in town, out of town, but it's all came back to Buffalo, obviously, and I've just been growing the skill since then.
It's interesting, and if you don't mind sharing a little bit of self-reflection here, you only went to just a little bit of college after graduating from Riverside.
Yeah.
And yet you seem like you have, like if you want to learn something, you can learn it. You're going to teach yourself. You're going to find a way to do it.
100%.
Was that kid in high school and in grammar school around Buffalo? Was that the same kid in class or?
100%.
Yeah.
Right? So it was when you start hearing people pound on the table trying to make beats just so they could rap at the lunch table. I'm like, we got to figure that out. What's that?
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
My original goal was I wanted to be a DJ forever. I can tell you that my first record was LL Cool J, I'm Bad. That was my first album that I ever owned. And you hear the mixing on like that actual song, I'm Bad, and I'm like, I want to do that for the rest of forever.
Right.
And then you learn that you can make beats all of a sudden, FL Studios and all that other good stuff, and then just teach yourself over, and just trying to always find myself filling a need where I can see there's a problem, right? So it just kept evolving out of that.
Wow. And now here you are making these creations and expanding the business as well. There's just so much to your story that I really want to make sure that we explore here. Not the least of which, though, is the fact that you have created designs. We've got some right in front of us. Let's take a moment, if you could, just describe what we have in front of us right now.
Well, we have the Regatta. The Regatta is our statement bag. It is something that we hang our hat on very proudly. It's almost like a diamond shape, and it sits on its side as opposed to a vertical standing bag. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The idea was just to make something that creates a conversation. Like no matter where we put this piece, people are going to ask, like, whose bag is it and where'd you get it from?
Yeah, it's the way, because like you said, the way it stands, it stands out by the way it in fact stands, right?
100%.
Yeah, I got that.
Right. So for us, like, we wanted to be able to start people being able to have conversations, especially if you're in some version of introvert and stuff like that. Like I told you before, I myself am an introvert. I'd rather be in my house. Like my friends will tell you, like they invite me out all the time. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. Right? But you better invite me out and be really sad about it. But just invite me so I can say that. That's what I want. So, you know.
And all leather?
100% leather,
Stitching.
Inside and out.
Okay.
And we like to use like a lot of gold accents and things like that just because it falls in line with the brand and stuff like that. But like I like to tell everybody, like we sell confidence and the byproduct just so happens to be a bag.
Gotcha.
Right. So therefore, if someone's asking you about this bag, like they have to approach you, you know, instead of you having to reach out to them. You know what I mean? And try to create relationships that way where like they're so interested in you, and it's so much easier to talk about yourself to someone else that is interested in you as opposed to just being like, hi. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Try. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
so we move with intentions by just being able to give folks an opportunity just to be comfortable.
Sure. And now another bag is also over here as well.
That bag is just like a standard satchel. It's just what I use as my carry around. Just, you know.
But I bet it grabs some attention too, doesn't it?
It can, you know. But I think I like to focus mainly on the women's pieces just because they're more interested in those type of things than as opposed to men as a whole, you know. Not
right.
to generalize or anything like that, but like guys are looking for like everyday function, right?
Function, definitely.
So like, you know, like what could I take to work? What could I take to, you know, the football field or something of that nature, the gym? Women, on the other hand, like it gives me an opportunity to work on more of aesthetics as opposed to function, although function is included in everything that we do.
Of course.
Like I said, it's just more, you could be so much more creative with women's first, you know?
Right.
So they want to see the colors. They want to see the shapes and the designs and the structure and all that good stuff. And I like to think that we can provide that at a high level where it's not crushing your bank account.
Right. Now, and this brings us to an interesting part of all of this. Of course, you know, you do these designs that are grabbing people's attention, but now you can't make them all by yourself.
No.
And you've got to find ways of taking it to a wider level. Let's talk about that.
We've been working on it. We haven't quite gotten there to the extent that we want to, right? So I'm trying to find, like, we've looked at, like, local help and stuff like that, and we've reached out to a few people here and there. And, you know, some people, like, they're very enthusiastic, if you will, but it's just, like, it's a skill that takes you a while to really get good at, and precision is really important. Also, being able to pay attention to the details in which it takes to even put these things together is super important. Just knowing the pieces, whether it be like the substrate or the leather, the thickness of the leather, you know what I mean? Like if you can't measure leather in ounces or millimeters, and like how can, you know what I mean? Like, you know, granted, it should be part of my job to teach you, but while I'm trying to teach you, I'm also losing time, right? So what we've been doing is like reaching out to the same places that we actually get the leather from. So like it'd be like Italy, Croatia, and stuff like that. And in some cases, like we've even tried to stretch out as far as like Africa as well. And it's, you know, like, so we're figuring things out.
Yeah, you're kind of in that process, but you can see it happening, a more widespread opportunity to get your goods?
As long as we keep doing as well as we're doing, yeah. Like, I think it's a necessary evil, if you will. I would prefer to keep everything as American-made as possible. Like, so still, like, even our hardware is still sourced in America. Our leather, if we can help it, depending on what pieces that were being made, those get still sourced in America 100%. Like, our backpacks and stuff like that, our duffel bags are still sourced here. Like I said, for sure, the hardware is made in Boston.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then certain pieces, like we specifically get our certain leathers from Chicago, right? So over at the Hornwing factory as well. So like they're like this, another tannery. It's a historic tannery in Chicago. Okay. You know, so.
It's interesting. We were talking also before we went on. You said you saw, I think, a bag, and you said it cost $3,200.
So yeah, I wanted this Louis Vuitton Christopher bag when I started making like real money doing sports marketing, right? So I saw it and I'm like, oh yeah, so we're going to be on a plane every day, you know, we're going to I was like, one of our first major events that day was like the World Series of Poker, right? So I'm like traveling around with Jeff Gross, poker player out there from Michigan. And I was like, you know, just seeing like, all right, so what does this space look like? And I just didn't want to look like an oddball with a bag that I got from Walmart or something like that. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get this expensive bag because I could afford it now. And I was like, $3,200. I'm like, once you start looking at materials and stuff like that, and you're like, I can make this.
Yeah.
And it kind of just sparked bags from there.
And just to that, like you said, you probably could make it for maybe $400 or $500, having your own skill, not the time that you put into it, but in terms of materials.
Yeah, just in terms of materials, at least for what we would need these days. Yeah, it's about 4 or 5.
Yeah. It must have just been an incredible eye-opening experience for you when you came to that realization.
Yeah, and YouTube University teaches you whatever you need to know. So, like, you spend enough time on it and you ask questions. I think what's really great about the leather community is that there's no gatekeeping. Like, they like to share. They'll tell you where they got their blades. They'll tell you where they source their leather. They'll tell you where, whether it be glues or foam paddings and all that. They tell you whatever you need to know. As opposed to, in the textile part of the industry, as far as fashion is concerned, like a lot of it's close to the best. Yeah, like they're not as forthcoming with information as you would hope so. I would like to be on the other end of that spectrum, and continue to be as transparent as possible.
Right.
Because like, what good is me hoarding all this information? If we're sitting here trying to leave lasting impressions on the world in some way, shape, or form, at least let me be known as a teacher.
We were talking before how your day sometimes might start at, let's say, 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
Your day might not end until 3 the next morning.
Yeah. That is often.
Take us through if you don't mind. Take us through a day with the Dame Powell and what you might be encountering. And you're not just working on new designs and sewing those designs, but you're also dealing with contacts from everywhere, it seems.
Right. So, 8 a.m. first things first, we wake up with Ahsoka, is one of our dogs, and we go for a walk. Okay. So that's how I start the day off with that. And get a quick 3 miles, about an hour of our time. But while I'm doing the walk with the dog, I'm on the phone having conversations with whether it be managers or folks inquiring about new pieces and trying to see if we can do any version of custom work or, private labels. Like, we do a lot of private label work.
Private label work, what does that mean?
Where another company will subcontract you to pretty much make their products for them. Okay. Right. So it works out really well for us that way. Right. So we're actually in the middle of a private label order right now. So those usually are between like 500 to 1,000 pieces. Right.
500 to 1,000 pieces.
Yeah, just right out of the shop.
Wow.
Yeah. So
how long is that taking?
It depends on what it is that we came up with, right? So some projects might take me, 3-4 months. The one I'm working on right now, we're trying to set a goal of being able to knock out 500 this month. Wow. Right. But again, it's those type of pressures that you put upon yourself to make sure that you can, under promise and over deliver.
Of course.
So that's always the goal, right? So my due date was November. I want to be done before September. So then that way, when the thought process comes of like, oh, we got to get this done.
Right.
But we were crunched on time. Who could we rely on to do that? We could call a day.
While you're going through that process, are you your hardest critic? If you see something that's wrong?
Yeah. So like, there's a pile of misfits sitting. I'm thinking of them right now. There's a pile of misfits that I'm just like, yeah, we messed up. That we're working on. We can get back to it. I usually handle all of the mistakes later. But the initial goal is just to knock out the original count and we'll keep it going, right? And then so to progress through the day, a good chunk of that is actual just production. So just in shops, sewing, trying to get content in when we can, right? So I'll just set the camera up and hit the record button. And then by the time the end of the day comes, I'm like, here, Dana, here you go. Can you turn that into something that people want to see on Instagram? Because if you left it just to me, you would probably never see nothing we do. Right. So, I rely heavily on her to get those things done. And then, we have other folks involved in our business who don't, like I said, everybody's hands can't do what mine does. Right. But their minds still think and move in tandem what it is that my dreams and goals are. Right. So we have a guy that is our copywriter. Right. So he writes, what our page looks like. He helps out with, like, as far as like the website is concerned, like almost every piece of wording you see on there is like I think Dana might start it. He'll go through, curate it, make sure we're all fine and we look good that way. You know, like I said, Dana handles a lot of the visuals that we have going on. The other person I mentioned, his name's Evan, right? So Evan is very much like, he makes sure like our voice is heard the way it needs to be heard, right? So those type of people, like, I think they are gems. You know, folks would, like, I know for a fact that people would pay top dollar to have someone like Dana by their side, just like, here, I'm gonna hold this camera and be happy all day doing it. You know, like, that's not something you can really come across. So when you find those people, you take care of those people,
right?
You know what I mean? And like I said, for as far as like my buddy Evan is concerned, you know, making sure that we are concise and that we keep some version of continuity throughout the brand or whatever. Again, that's not something I can consistently think of if I'm sitting here trying to knock out 500 pieces in a month.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or even when it comes to other marketing pieces, like, you know, like, stickers, business cards and stuff like that. There's another guy, Danny Hernandez, D Nice Customs. He's here locally. He handles all that stuff for us. All of our banners and stuff like that. He's been instrumental in what we've been, you know, putting together here. It's a group effort. And again, like I would tell anybody, if you can find somebody who cares about you just one iota, like make them feel as special as you can. Show up for birthdays, show up for like, just call them. You need me to help you move something, okay? Because that's the type of person that I am, right? So, like, you know, these folks do this type of stuff for you, and they don't, and they don't owe you anything. So, for you not to make sure they feel appreciated is blasphemy.
Interesting. I think you kind of described it momentarily there about how, I guess, your products speak. I guess so. I'm putting maybe words in your mouth to a certain extent, but what your products, what your designs, they come from a place inside you. Is there a theme that you can use to describe that, or is every piece maybe unique and follows a different kind of artistic direction, maybe? So,
like I said before, I did sports marketing and we did a lot of traveling, right? So prior to that, like, my travel experience really wasn't as extensive as it is now. So the leather journey started because I was doing that. So I name like a lot of these bags off of streets I've been on.
Okay.
And throughout my travels. So the Regatta, I believe, was it New York?
Somewhere in Miami.
Regatta was Miami.
Okay.
Right. So, and then there's the Mariner. Mariner is an ode to my mother, right? But the first street that I can recall living on was Mariner Street in Allentown. So, you know, like in this like pink and yellow building right now, like that apartment right next to Jim's.
Okay.
Yeah. So like that was right across the street from Rick's. And, you know, like that's what I named that bag after her.
Gotcha.
Just like this tote bag. My mother technically designed the bag. I sat down with her and, you know, like, hey, like, what do you want? Because she kept looking at the stuff that I was doing. She was like, I want something. And I'm like, fine. Like, let's sit down. Let's figure it out. And the Mariner was born.
Okay.
You know what I mean? There's other bags like the Collins is also Miami. Roxbury, I think, is that Miami?
I think it was New York or Chicago.
Yeah, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, right. I just, like, I write down the names or whatever. Like, I'll walk down the street. I'm like, oh, that's a nice street name. Okay, here we go. You know what I mean?
So it's more the name, the feel of that.
Where I'm at.
Right.
You know, and then, you know, like, I could tell you now, I can't tell you how many times I'll sit at, like, you know, at a cafe or a bar or something like that, and I'm just bag watching. Like, other people watch, I'm looking at bags. So, you know, like, is there a running theme here? What's popular? What's going on? And just really take, like, you know, getting the real temperature of what the industry looks like in the real world. Yeah,
you know, it's so fascinating to see how you're this kind of networking world that you live in that is. It's sparked a lot of this creativity. It's sparked a marketplace for your goods as well. You know, but we talked about this before we went on the air, and I want to get into this. You are an introvert,
100%,
and yet you have learned very quickly in your development that you couldn't afford to be an introvert. You probably wouldn't be in any business right now, right?
Not at all. The best thing you can do is have the gift of gab in some way, shape, or form. Be some version of memorable, be some version of funny, try to be, at least I try to be. I think I'm a comedian half the time. But
You're doing okay so far.
That's what I'm talking about. This is my open mic. But yeah, like my introduction into the, like, even sales, like, let's say sales,
yes.
You know what I mean? Like, it was the matter of, like, being put out into a very uncomfortable situation in Vegas, you know, and being like, hey, go talk to these people, try to get these business folks to come look at your brand that you spent all this money for. You know, I think it was like just to have a booth in Vegas to do the magic show for, I think it's called the magic show. It's $10,000.
Whoa.
You know what I mean? And that's just for the space. That's not including the freaking $250 chair and the other $500 table that you have to pay for that you have, you know what I mean? The electricity and all the other good stuff. Like, that's all a la carte, and it's all uber expensive, right? And then for me to just be sitting there in that little 10 by 10 space and not speaking to anybody is a waste of money, because we're not talking about food, we're not talking about hotel, we're not talking about flights to get there. We're in Buffalo, so this is cross country flight, you know what I mean? And I just was sitting there just looking at people, like, hoping someone came through. And my partner at the time was like, man, if you don't get your butt out there and say something to somebody, we spent too much money for you to sit here and be scared. And I was just, here I am, you know what I mean? Just out there talking to folks and creating relationships, you know. So brought that back home with me, and I've just been, you know, purposely putting myself in positions where I need to be talking to folks and trying my best to command a room.
Right. Yeah, and and you probably get a lot of inquiries now from younger people. Love your creativity. Is that one of the first things you tell them, that you can't sit back, you can't be a wallflower and make an impact in this business?
100%. You know, it's definitely along the lines of that, along with, you know, come with a plan. Don't just like, I'm going to make this. Why? What's your why? Because that's what it all comes down to. What's your why? What is the end goal? And you know, how you get there may be in the air, but you need to know why you're at least doing this at all, you know? So I can tell you right now what my why is, and it's not significant or anything like that, but I really just would love to just be able to, like, wake up every day and hang out with the homies. Just hey guys, we're gonna go Cabo, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to hear the excuse of, oh, I gotta work, because I don't want my friends to work. Because what good is being any version of successful if your friends around you aren't successful like you? Right. You know, it's kind of lonely at the top that way, isn't it?
Yeah. When I get there, I'll let you know if it's that lonely or not. Yeah, for sure. What about Buffalo? Do you carry a part of Buffalo into your creations? Is it all right there? I mean, you know, let's talk about that a little bit.
100%.
Yeah?
Yeah. You know, like, in my opinion, there's more that is offered here than we take advantage of. Like we spoke before, you know, again, FIG is an opportunity where you can showcase your pieces and be able to start to build these relationships that can help you just make a living off your hands. When the opportunities come, are you prepared to take advantage of them? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that there's an opportunity here in this beautiful city of ours where, you know, we can create this fashion district that we've been sitting here wishing that we had. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's an opportunity here where we can also start to, you know, build upon sports and stuff of that nature, you know, make Buffalo a place to be. We go downtown and you see, especially like, let's say going to Broadway or Genesee, and you start to see all this vacant buildings and stuff like that. Like, those are opportunities as opposed to anything else. Like, what could those be, and how come we're not having those conversations to figure out what they should be? You know what I mean? So I think a lot of FIG's goals is, you know, keep Buffalo's talent in Buffalo, right? Because I promise you now, before FIG, Dan and I were on our way to Houston.
Really?
Yeah. And then we got invited to a meeting, and we sat down with them, and it was like, just try it out. You know, like just see what we can do, see what this can be, and you know, if it doesn't work, fine. But we think that it'll be worth you staying, and it has been.
Right.
And I can't be more grateful, you know. And so therefore, I think like, all right, well, if this opportunity is here for me, this opportunity is here for other folks too, right? And it doesn't have to necessarily exist in the world of fashion or anything of that nature. It could sit, like I said, in the form of sports. It could sit in the form of, you know, doing exactly what we're doing here right now. You know, just having these conversations, whether it be podcast, radio, whatever. But like, again, the opportunities are there, but I will say that the opportunities aren't necessarily being used, you know, put in the sky like the bat signal either.
Right.
You know, so the opportunities aren't necessarily making themselves easy to be found at the same time. And I think that people who can create those opportunities should be a bit more vocal about, you know, being accessible, right? Because who knew that they could do these things as a living without actually ever seeing them? Right. You know what I mean? Like, could you believe like there's actual leather craftsmen in the town at all if you've never seen them being done? You know, like would it ever occur to you to like, oh, I could do that too? You know, if you've never seen someone visually,
right? If you can't, if you haven't seen it,
it's hard to do it. Hard for it to be imagined, right?
Right, for sure.
So again, it could be, you know, those opportunities where, you know, like I said, for FIG or, you know, and then there's Buff State that, you know, they put on their fashion show, but Buff State's fashion shows for Buff State students.
Yes.
Right. And more power to them. But what happens to those students after the show? Where do they go? Back home.
Right.
You know, and why do they go back home? Because what else is there for them what opportunities for them with this fashion degree? What could they do with it right here? All right. Well, there's shakers and movers here that can make those opportunities available for you kids out here that are trying to find your way through fashion, right? So there's boutiques like Half and Half that exist, right? And they're looking for like they like, for sure, Miss Bronstein loves like innovative new pieces. She likes to like tap into like, oh, are you a local designer? Let me see your work. Are you prepared to even do this, right? And then, you know, she'll give you opportunities and shots and stuff like that. There's, you know, or even to the extent of like far as like pop-ups and stuff like that, those are bountiful here, right? And I'm not saying you can sit here and make a living off of just doing pop-ups. No, yes. I'm not saying that. Right. But the people who attend these pop-ups, like whether they look like a soccer mom or not, like that same soccer mom could be like, you know, a owner of or one of the main buyers of, you know, a chain store or some nature of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of chain stores, have any been reaching out to you at all? Have you heard all that kind of thing yet?
Right now we're being carried by Half and Half over on 1088 Elmwood, and we are super grateful for that opportunity with Miss Bronstein. But we've had other like local boutiques reach out and stuff like that, and say, hey, we'd love to carry you and stuff like that. But, you know, I try to avoid conflict of interest as much as possible.
Nice.
But, you know, opportunities are coming about in Pittsburgh. There's opportunities coming about in Ohio as well. A lot of like the surrounding areas, you know what I mean, like are starting to, you know, find themselves in our DMs and inboxes.
And obviously you're getting lots of inquiries in a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. How do you sort through it? How do you know that this one is worth following? This one isn't for us. What are your values when you work through that?
Well, we tend to do our homework. You know what I mean? Check out what their story looks like. Check out what, you know, what their pages and stuff like that looks like, and see what it is that they're trying to accomplish, and make sure that our brand aligns with theirs. It's not always necessarily like an immediate money grab, like, oh yeah, they want to buy, you know, 30, 40 pieces from you or something of that nature. Okay, let's collect this check and keep it pushing. Like, that's not how that goes, right? It's more along the lines of like, is there an opportunity for this to be a reoccurring business? What does your clientele look like? Because we know what ours looks like. We see them walk up to us all the time, right? So does your clientele look like our clientele? If not, then I mean, not to say that it's a total wash, but you know, like if Like if let's say if our clientele is, you know, women in their mid 30s and stuff like that, but like you sell to like preteens, what good is, you know, $300-$400 bag doing in that store?
Gotcha.
You know,
yeah.
As opposed to, you know, like a lot of our clientele is like professionals, nurses, lawyers, other business owners and stuff like that. Like that's who we sell to a lot of.
Stay with us. There's more to come. This is What's Next on WBFO.
Hey, educators. You've been asking for it, and it's here. Reading Rainbow Stories is ready to help your students stay on track. Each story is paired with activities to help students strengthen cross-curricular skills, such as math and business in Lemonade for Sale.
Let's keep track of our sales.
Science and health in Germs Make Me Sick.
Usually, you feel better after a day or two. Thanks. But if you don't, you should see a doctor.
And history in Following the Drinking Gourd.
One of the worst things about slavery is that families were separated. Fathers, mothers, and children were oftentimes sold to different people.
Check out the new Reading Rainbow Stories collection on PBS Learning Media today to help your students stay on track.
Experience the vision of Buffalo's fashionistas as they display their style. FIG, an evening of fearless fashion, takes place on September 28th at Seneca One. Buffalo's burgeoning designers will present their designs and lead the evening's performances. Ticket information and details about the designers at figbuffalo.com.
You're listening to What's Next, our place to discuss the important issues of our communities of Western New York and Southern Ontario. We want to hear from you. Click on the Talk to Us option in the WBFO app, and we will work to get your questions or comments on the air. Do you have a story or concern that we should be addressing? Email us using whatsnext@wbfo.org. Together, we'll have the conversations that are needed. This is WBFO, your NPR station.
We're talking with Dame Powell this morning on What's Next. Dame, will, like many others, will be part of FIG 2024 coming up at the Seneca One Tower on September 28th. This is interesting, I think, as well. We were talking a little bit in this. I keep mentioning our pre-interview conversation, but people missed it, so we got to
It feels like that was the interview.
But I just thought it was fascinating to see. When I was talking to you, I could see how crucial details are to you.
100%. It's not even about the details; it's about the intention. Right, so we like to think we move intentionally, right? Again, if one of my weaknesses was being an introvert and not want to talk to people, I thusly created a bag that would create conversation. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Like it pulls you, it helps you create the confidence. Like I said, we sell confidence, and the byproducts are bags, right? You know, even coming into the FIG fashion show that we're about to put on or about to participate in, you know, like I'm doing winter clothes in Buffalo, right? But like on purpose, because it's coming. It's in September. Winter is literally right around the corner.
Yes.
Therefore, if you see, oh, those are winter coats or those are winter-esque pieces, I can have that now. I should just get it since I'm thinking about it right now. Let's go. You know, as opposed to like, let's wait for the first drop of snow to hit the floor. No. I'm already ahead of you. I got you covered. You know, intention. That's what it's all about. Moving with intention and making sure that you plan accordingly. So
let's go through that intention, though, of how you're, again, I know there's some decisions still to be made between now and the day of FIG, but the elements, the details that people are going to see, not just of your designs, but also everything that comes out there on the stage and what they hear at that time. It's all very important to you, isn't it? Yeah, 100%. Like I said, we, with all that, you know, Dame is prepared to, again, take advantage of the opportunity that have been given to us, right? So we know that folks are coming there to see things. Let's give them a show, you know, like let's give them something where like
and they probably are impulsive. So give them an opportunity to buy some things that they might not be able to, get their hands on after they walk out of that door. You know what I mean? Out of sight, out of mind. So, but if you can create a lasting impression on these people and give them an opportunity to move upon the impulses, it creates a better situation for you to garner new support. Right. So Dame is going to be fully able to sell products right then and there on the spot. You open up your pamphlet, there's going to be a QR code for us. And everything that you see walk down that runway, you can scan that QR code and you can go buy it right now as you watch it. So if it's something that makes your eyes go pop and you're like, I have to have that in your program, you should be able to scan a QR code. And you should be able to have it right then and there.
Wow.
So rather it be, because, some of our pieces is still like, I'm still making them myself and stuff like that. So you might be a little slight weight, but at least you're going to be able to get it right now.
Right.
Your order is secure.
Yeah. It's, again, it's interesting just to see how this has all evolved for you, though, to get to this point.
This started out as like a pop-up, as far as like, actually our first sale was a football wallet.
A football wallet?
Yeah, so I had a football that my dog chewed on, and I was like, oh, this is a really good ball. And it was a leather ball. It was, an actual NFL ball.
Yeah.
And I just, what I could salvage from it, I just turned it into a little card holder, and I showed it to the friends in the Call of Duty lobby group chat, and it was like, yeah, I want one. And then it just started evolving from there.
Do you need donations of old NFL footballs? Because I have a couple of them that are deflated at my house. Probably.
I'll take them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll take them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put it to, it'd be nice to get it to use. I keep it around like, it doesn't hold air.
I'll hold you to it.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. I think I have at least one, maybe two.
Okay. Yeah. I'll make it look as nice as you need it to.
Well, I want to let you just use it for whatever you want to use it for.
It's going to come right back to you.
Oh, come on. Stop. It's a chance to utilize, right?
Yeah,
keep utilizing 100%. Things. Yeah,
and then as far as business is concerned, I look at it from a perspective as content. I'm like, this is gonna be sweet. Like that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you? Is that kind of stuff popping in your mind all the time? Then you're going. Like you said you're bag watching when you're at the bar or the cafe.
Mm-hmm.
What about like just going down the street? You see things like, yeah, that's me.
100%. I've even gone out of my way to ask people like, "What's that? Can I see your bag?"
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've done that in this building. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like because it. Again, like certain bags may have details or techniques that I haven't been able to see, or if you're looking at, let's say, like an Hermes Kelly, like you want to see how that's built. Like that's a $10,000 piece, at minimum. You know what I mean? And so to be able to see that in person, up close and personal, whether it be authentic or not, but like it's still like the techniques are all the same. Just to see it and see what you can adapt from it. Like I think those, I don't know, I like doing it.
Yeah,
and I also include it into my work. So, like the rigid structure of certain pieces that we do right now is inspired by like the Hermes Kelly bag. Just like it stands and it's firm in its position. Like I like that look.
And how do you balance because you're designing, creating, that's all part of it. But then you're also making. I mean, how do you compartmentalize that, or is it just you just kind of just flow through all of it as you move through the day?
Yeah, it's really just like a flow. Like you start the morning off, and you get the immediate work done. You kind of like max yourself out on that, and then you're like, all right, well, at least I can go sit down now. And then when you're sitting down, maybe having lunch, just do a couple of doodles here and there, and see what happens. And then at some point, once you complete one project, I generally like to give myself, like if we do like a 4-month project or something like that, right? I'll take a month off. I'm just not doing anything, and I'll spend that time doing a lot of like ideation and talking about color palettes and music and all this other stuff that really gets you moving in the right direction.
When you're in that moment or those moments, talk about the environment. Do you set up a certain environment for yourself, or is it just kind of just hanging out in the house or something like that?
So, like I said, introvert first and foremost. So I'm definitely in the house. A friend of mine, we call him Carolina Blue. He's like, make sure your house is somewhere that you never want to leave. So like we set up our home to be a space where I'm like, I don't have to go anywhere. Like my entertainment is here, food is here. If I need to work, that's here. Like all that is here. So like I have like a little office, or I call it the game room, and just turn on the lights, put on the music, and just kind of or One Piece, like a big anime fan, and then just kind of just go.
Yeah. And then just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah, it just keeps going and going and going, and then eventually you get that text message for like Call of Duty tonight. Yes.
Okay.
So.
You ever get frustrated?
All the time. Notice, how much it sucks to be just about done with the bag, and then you accidentally scratch it with a razor. You know what I mean? And now the whole piece is ruined. Not a great time. You spend 36 hours on a piece, and then you accidentally you puncture it or whatever. Because leather is unforgiving. It's not like you can fix a hole. Once the hole's there, it's there, right? So that's part of the time. You know what I mean? Like, people are like, well, why do you charge so much? And I'm like, if you only knew. You know what I mean? Like you're not only are you paying for the product, you're also paying for the mistakes to make said product.
Right.
You're paying for the time and the skill developed to even get there. So
another thing that is always kind of hard to understand is the big ask, right? Mm-hmm. Now you put price tags on your work. Mm-hmm. Was there a moment where you were like, I remember talking to one artist saying, when he first sold a piece for $1,000, he thought that was mind blowing. That for someone who would pay for canvas and pigment on canvas for $1,000 just blew his mind. But he did it. What about for you? Was there a moment like, I charged this and I got that?
Yeah, 100%. So back to the Christopher backpack that we were talking about, right? I ended up making my own version of it, right? We call it it's the Rox. Is that the Roxbury now? No, it's the Autobahn. Yeah, so it's called the Autobahn, right? That backpack. I made it, and then we put it on Instagram, and then someone hit us up and was like, "I would love that bag. I want it in vegetable tan leather." And I'm like, the fact that you know what veg tan leather is means that you know your leather, right? So this is a person that's like, hey, I know what I like and I know what I want.
Okay.
And I think that you can create what it is that I want. He saw that my bag, he was like, I want that bag in this version of leather. Can we make that happen? I was like, yeah, sure. And after I did all the sourcing and all that, I'm like, dude, this bag is going to be so expensive. You know what I mean? Like, because vegetarian leather is not cheap, and especially like, you know, if you're getting it in like 16 square foot highs, you know what I mean? Like, it's easily going for like between 200, about $200, you know what I mean, for a hide. And it might take you a couple hides to do that, plus all the material for the inside and all this other good stuff. And he ended up buying a duffel bag, and he wanted a backpack as well. And it was the duffel bag, and then his wife bought, along with that, his wife bought a bucket bag, and then she also bought a regatta as well. And I think, you know, in the grand total of all of that, it was probably like $6,000-$7,000. And on top of it, not only was it $6,000-$7,000, they flew me out personally to hand it to them and put me up. And this is in Chicago.
Wow. So
you talk about mind blowing, like I don't know, you people from a can of paint. You know what I mean? Like,
are you still the same guy though? That I mean, you're not the introvert maybe that you were once upon. Oh, you're still the introvert.
I'm still the introvert.
But you found it. But I mean, you've had success.
I have to.
Do you feel like you're still grounded?
100%. Yeah. The people around me still call me names. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and we still kick it, and you know, I'm not holier than thou, you know, like I'm fallible, you know, I still make mistakes. All my pieces aren't perfect. Like I still, like I'm to put my pants on like you do. So one leg at a time. I hope that's how you do it.
Yeah. Well, actually I stand them in the corner. I just hop in.
That sounds so convenient.
Okay. So it sounds like you're busy just getting taking care of things that you got to do. But do you have, and you did mention, of course, before, it would be great to have it so like all your friends we could just go chill in Cabo, right? But at the same time, for the business in itself, is there like boy, if we could get to this, I would love it if we were here. Not necessarily, and not necessarily be a monetary kind of connection. It might just be, this is where these designers are, and I want to be there.
Something I never really thought too much about. I think in my day-to-day, I'm just like, I just need to be better than yesterday.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? But if, I don't know, if there's an opportunity to like, be in like, Paris Fashion Week or something like that, I think that'd be pretty dope. But like, it's not the be all end all for me. It's not, I don't even know if that's like the pinnacle of success. Like sure. I think I'd rather just like to be, as far as the brand is concerned, in the zeitgeist of like what is fashion, what is high end. Like I think the idea is to really be like an actual like legacy brand. You know what I mean? Like, so when you start talking about like, oh, the brands that are here for forever, like if you're saying like Dior, Hermes, Christian Dior, Louis, Gucci, and then Dame should be in that conversation at some point.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? And I would love for that to be a thing. I mean, because, they tell you, reach for the stars, land on the moon. So if that's what I'm looking for, and then I ended up falling into the category of like Coach and Michael Kors, I'm not going to complain because I could be nothing.
Right. But you're doing enough to be something and be a real busy designer for sure. What's the best way for folks that want to find out more about what you do and how they might be able to access this? What are your suggestions?
You can reach us at shop.dameav on Instagram. There's also, Shop Dame Av on TikTok? Mm-hmm. And then there's also the website of dameav.com or shoot us an email at info@dameav.com.
You get a lot of business off at Instagram?
Almost all the businesses off Instagram.
Is that right?
Yeah, and like our Instagram following is not really big at all. It's 2,000 people, if that, not even.
Yeah, a little less.
Yeah, a little less than 2,000 people. Like all of our but the people who follow us though, like are folks who are consistently interested in us.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not necessarily like we don't have any version of padded numbers or anything like that. It is what it is. But like we've made a living off of just that little handful of followers, you know what I mean? So I say that to even like, the other designers are thinking like, oh, you need 10,000 followers to even be relevant. No, you don't. No, you don't. You need a decent story, a good product, and a work ethic that cannot be matched. Because it shows, you know what I mean? Like just being consistent is super important. Like I know it's so cliche to say, oh, be consistent, but like, no, really. Like if you just, again, you're trying to sit in the forefront of someone's mind, like they just need to keep seeing you, even if you're annoying, just be seen. You know what I mean? I think that's the best thing that you could do right now is just be consistent, but yeah, like don't let those numbers discourage you. Don't let those numbers dictate your value and all that, because that don't mean nothing. I promise you it don't mean a thing, right? Especially, like I said, I've been able to do this for quite some time and been able to, continuously provide and do what's necessary in my household, and this isn't, again, it's not the be all end all, but I'm like, it's better than not having nothing at all,
And of course, folks can come see your work at the Fig Fashion Show coming up at Seneca One Tower on September 28th.
Yes.
Any thoughts for people who are for the people attending? What should they expect? Not just from you, but from the show itself.
The unexpected, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just like going there expecting to see bright colors, loud music, and passionate people. The dress code is to wear that thing that you don't have any other place to wear it to. That's just pretty much how like they kind of preface it. I think you should go in there being able to act upon your impulses, like if it's something that you see, try to get it, because far as artists are concerned, like, we can be quite fickle, you know what I mean? And we're not always prepared, and we are oftentimes scatterbrained. But if you can lock them in that very moment, I would say you walk up, say like, "Hey, I want this,"
Right.
you know, and let them know that you're more than willing to like move on that impulse, you know. But again, I even to like the folks who want to be designers, maybe in the next year's Fig Fashion Show, you know, be prepared. Like start getting your catalog ready. Start putting together your website. Get your looks together. Pay for your photo shoots. Do all your homework. Figure out what it is that you're trying to say and what you're trying to convey. And you know, say something to Miss Julia and Mr. Newell. And I'm pretty sure like those people are super nice. None of them are, you know, hard to reach or difficult to talk to by any means.
Well, you can see Dame Powell's creations coming up at the Fig Fashion Show on September 28th at Seneca One Tower. Dame Powell, Dana, thanks very much for joining us today on What's Next.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having
Stay
us.
positive.
Thanks for joining us. You've been listening to What's Next on WBFO.
Support for WBFO and What's Next comes from our members and from Health Foundation for Western and Central New York, where racial and socioeconomic health equity are prioritized. Learn more about building healthier neighborhoods at hfwcny.org.